listeners, welcome to Quick Take. I'm Susie Tomanchuk along with James Katz. How are you, James?
I'm actually kind of congested today.
Yeah.
I got a little of the, it's a little of the flu, maybe a little white flu. The snow has been pretty great up here. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but if I do sneeze or cough or ka-choo, it's legit.
Okay.
It's not intended to address our brand management or something like that.
Okay. I think I'm going to call you Phoebe today. Okay, Phoebe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't get that. So we'll move on.
Okay. So those, good. That's good that you don't get it. Some people in the audience do.
Okay.
So I'll just say smelly cat. That's all I'm going to say. Okay.
That's okay. I needed some context. Yes. Now I get you.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's sick and she likes her sexy voice. So there you go.
I can drop it down an octave.
There you
I
go.
can get into the mic really good.
All right. I think I shouldn't have brought that up. I take that back. Rewind. So, but let's talk about this idea of messing with our minds.
Oh yeah.
I can't believe we're having this conversation. I feel like I'm on my way to college and I'm getting some warnings, but I had a friend who she said, I want to have a conversation with you. Don't judge me. And I was like, okay.
Well, this is great.
Totally leaned in. I'm like, all right, no judgment.
It's going to be good. Yep.
But let me get my tape recorder.
That's right.
But she talked to me about kind of this new fad, or I guess I shouldn't call it fad, a movement around using psychedelics in a trusted circle to really deepen your ability to think and expand out. And there's actually a Netflix show on this, or a documentary on the use of psychedelics. What's it called?
It's How to Change Your Mind, and it's actually based on a book.
Interesting.
Which is it's very good. Yeah, I've seen that. But it's a great topic. I mean, I think it's like a lot of things. There's a huge spectrum in that of that discussion to have. I think there's psilocybins, which are mushrooms. There's ketamine. There's even THC, marijuana. All these things are being talked about as ways to, as that book and Netflix show, change your mind. Really, how do you adjust the way that your brain thinks? And science and medicine are coming to a place to accept that.
Yeah, and I just to give a little bit more definition too. She was saying that it's a group of people that get together. You agree to kind of stay in one place. There's actually people that are not participating, but they have a lot of insights and knowledge around the substances. So they administer them and they control and keep track of what's going on. But the whole idea is to just deepen, get yourself to think beyond your boundaries.
100%. Yeah, I have friends who are in the mental health area, big believers. One friend said to me that she felt, a effective and managed use of ketamine can accelerate your therapy by years.
Wow.
And so I think it's a really interesting space. But I think, for our listeners and for, leadership, it's something worth discussing, and not as in, hey, let's all, after work, do some ket. Let's have an adult conversation about that, and what, as a leader and as an executive and a person who is trying to drive an organization, how does this fit into the conversation?
Wow. And so do you think these are becoming team events? We're going to do a team event?
It's funny you mention it that way, because I know that there was a recent article about some of the board members on Twitter, or whatever that's called now.
X, right?
X. No, yeah. Can you say that word, or you just have to make a symbol? I forget. Is it Prince's name? There you go. That were felt obligated to do ketamine when they were at meetings with Musk. And so, do I think that's the answer? Absolutely not. I think that this is like many things. I think it's really something that it's up to the individual. I don't think I would ever force my board or my direct reports to go to the gym. I don't think I'd ever force them to go out and drink with me, or even force them to just go to therapy. I think that's, what I want out of my leadership team is the best, and I'm going to encourage them to do and be the best. And I think that's really my first piece of advice is, you need to demystify that buzz and have the honest conversation around it. I think one of the greatest stories that if you unpack it, Paul Stamets and Steve Jobs credit Apple's existence with a weekend on psychedelics.
Oh,
and
interesting.
that is canonical. It is in the books that they've written. And so I think if you step away from the jokes and maybe the historical biases that we have, I think that there are some really intelligent studies on this. So I think as a leader, the first thing you want to do is get away from the buzz, get away from the biases, look at some of the research. Michael Pollan's got a great research paper called The Trip about psychedelics that I think is worth reading. And it talks about the history of that and some of the weird ways that has actually come to pass, and the why we think about it the way we do. So, have a good adult point of view on it, I think, is the first thing you can do.
Oh, it's so interesting because I'm trying to put myself in that frame of mind, and it makes me wonder if I would want to experience before I had a judgment. I don't know how I could make that consideration, whether I was going to even how I would embrace it in the workplace, I guess, or not.
I 100% agree. I just think that, my attitude on a lot of these things, whether even in the early days of, marijuana being legalized, was, look, we have a certain perspective on these things, and they should be just treated independently. And if people are making their own choices and they're done in a way that they want to do it, that's their prerogative.
For sure.
I'm very laissez-faire with that stuff. And I think, do I encourage people to be smart and intelligent? Yes. Do I need to condone it or encourage it necessarily at work? Probably not. But what an interesting conversation to have, because depending on your industry and depending on what you're trying to accomplish, there's some pros to that thinking.
Yeah. All right. So what's the second thing?
Well, I think really it's really about what you were saying is how do you create the a conversation so it is intelligent and there are frameworks around doing it wisely, right? I think you want to say first, all right, I'm okay with this, and then what is it really the right way to do it? And I think that book, How to Change Your Mind, like your friend said, working with people who are truly, applying it as a medicine, as a science, as a way to improve yourself. I think it's intelligent approach, and you want to think about it that way. I don't think you would ever get up in the morning and say, I'm going to go run a marathon today. You, Susie, could do that because you have legs up to here, and there was a day that you could just do that. And I had been running behind you at some of those times when I was wishing for death. But normal humans, just can't do things like that. And I think this is no different than that. You don't just jump into this. You just go down to the five and dime and pick up some ketamine and give it a shot. I think you explore the ways to do this intelligently. You look at it as any other thing that you need to learn about and intelligently explore that. Yeah.
Okay. So what's the third one?
Well, the third one I think is really about how you move forward with it and having a mindset or an approach that allows you to explore and take advantage of that creativity. I think that, a lot of creativity in the boardroom goes unappreciated. And actually, a lot of that groupthink is a problem. So I think that if you look at this as maybe sending somebody off to a training program or sending off somebody to a Yale, 6-month program on leadership, be sure when they return that you take advantage of the work that they have done. I know that I went off and I did a leadership program at Duke for a while. And when I returned, the company was really huge on making sure that we took advantage of the things and the money we invested. And so I think if you're going to adopt or embrace this, if you're going to have an open mind to this, then you need to then find a way to take advantage of it.
Yeah, it makes me also think that you have to be as open-minded to the people that aren't as open-minded.
Sure.
So if you do this in a group and there are a few that are a little more reluctant,
absolutely,
then think about that. And then the other thing is when you're done, I think make it really okay to say what was beneficial and what wasn't, because it may not end up being the same aha for one person as another.
Absolutely right. And I think it's like many things. I mean, if you put too much credence into it and assume that when that person comes back, they're the Messiah, that's also a problem, right? You're overselling this magic bean, and it's not really that. But at the same time, you don't want to, look down or punish those who don't believe in it. It's like many things in leadership. You have to. There's a balance. There's mindset. And there is a goal towards growth. And I think if you look at this as one of the tools in your toolbox, then I think then that's a great way to think about it.
Yeah, I agree. And before you go with all 3 tips and bring it back around, I just want to say that I just got a call from our lawyers, and I want to make sure that you understand that we're not condoning or because there's going to be some small print that you have to read around this episode. I'm saying that too because I know my parents are listeners, so I'm getting a little bit nervous.
Well, it's not like we're selling supplements, for God's sake.
Okay, thanks. That's all they needed. All right, so let's move on. Okay. What's the tip number 1?
Well, the first one is demystify it.
Yeah,
take a look at it, understand your biases. 2, look at it, explore an ethical way of doing it. Be clear on how you're going to accomplish that and what you're going to do to support it. And then 3, put the framework in place so you can take advantage of this as a new tool in your toolbox.
Yeah. Okay. Those are good. This is an interesting one.
It's super interesting.
I would love for people to tell us what they think of this one for sure.
Yeah. Great feedback.
Thanks, James.